Alright everyone, it's time for the Occult video 238, Amplified Effects Due to Public Exposure. This is sort of a takeoff of some of the meme magic stuff that I've talked about. This was several years ago when I was talking about memetics more. It's a similar topic to that. So if you've already watched that, it's a little bit of a primer. You should go back definitely in the playlist. There's, several hundred of these videos at this point on the same subject of memetics. What I've said is that if a ritual is publicly known, if it's been exposed to the public, you're doing it openly as opposed to in a basement or in a cave somewhere, it can have an additional energetic impact. Even if you only believe that ritualism is psychodrama, it's only psychological, it's only sort of a mental thing, it's like divorced of any actual spiritual context. Let's go from that and then build upon it. Let's say you don't believe at all in spirituality. If you have done a ritual and another person who's targeted by it is aware that the ritual has been done and this is an important part, they believe in any form of power from it, including in a secular sense, they simply believe in the placebo effect or whatever, it has an effect. And it is amplified if there's a crowd. It's amplified if there's an audience. If other people are stating that they're taking part in it, even if they're not, that'd be an interesting scientific experiment by the way, it will tend to increase the mental impact on the target. So let's say that I do a destruction ritual. I make a YouTube video, I'm in a black robe with pyrotechnics and everything and heavy metal in the background and I'm chanting to Satan or something. Let's say that the target actually believes that I could potentially have the power to harm them by that ritual. That's going to sting a little bit because they're going to be looking over their shoulder for a very long time. Now imagine that attendant to that, I've got 1,000 other people participating. It becomes, and people who do just music, not even in the context of rituals, but just get-togethers, televangelists, pastors and stuff probably experience this on the same level. When you are addressing a crowd, it feels different. It even feels different. I don't know if any other YouTubers or vloggers have noticed this. When you're making a live stream and when, there's 10,000 people watching live, it feels different from this kind of standalone video. Like knowing that the standalone video is being viewed gives you a little bit of a sense of this, but there's a sort of weird energy that you can feel. It's very much a mental thing. It's tangible almost when you're addressing large numbers of people. Or even fairly small groups, even a few dozen people. It feels differently from a one-on-one conversation or a non-interpersonal one where it doesn't matter how many people are watching this video, you're not seeing it live. But if I were addressing an amphitheater with 1,000 people in it, I would feel differently. It also affects behavior. The way in which people behave when they're in front of a crowd tends to change too. That's why people do crazy things at a rock concert that they wouldn't normally do in the grocery store. When they're in just regular private company, they're in their backyard, they're at church or something, there are certain things that they wouldn't do, even at church. Another great example. You get 1,000 Baptists together and they'll run around and chant hallelujah and start speaking in tongues. It's a sort of weird energy. They turn it into a spiritual thing. That's really fundamentally not that different. The idea of miraculous healing, even if you just assume that it's a mental effect. Well, he threw away his crutches and started walking. Yeah, but he was never crippled to begin with. But he never mentally had the capacity to throw away his crutches and walk normally because he thought he was crippled up because he had arthritis, chronic pain. Now he feels better, at least for a while. That may seem miraculous. Well, it doesn't matter if it's truly spiritual or if it's just a mental effect. It's been amplified by the crowd there. Normally, in order for a person to have that sort of power, which would be maybe considered prana in the Eastern tradition, something of the occult, the sinister current, you could say, among more dark occultists. I would use that term, the sinister current. In order to transfer that power, one of two things has to be true. There's a crowd involved, which artificially builds a sense of charisma, or the person is very charismatic. And when you combine the two together, of course, it's even more potent. This is your godmen, your yogis and stuff who can legitimately cause people to do and exhibit strange phenomena. Not like levitation or anything like that, but they can cause people to heal because most diseases tend to be mental anyway. Those can be delivered from, in part or in whole, temporarily or permanently. They can. It's no different than hypnosis. In fact, it is basically a form of hypnosis. And it is amplified by the presence of others. If you go to a rock concert, even if you just watch footage of a live performance of a really good rock concert, like look at Antichrist Superstar, for example. It's one of my favorite songs, and the various videos for it. You can imagine if you get tens of thousands of people packed in there, all expressing a sort of collective rage through someone else's music, it becomes a little bit energetic, to the point where people, after a sports game in the stadium, everyone's cheering. After a rock concert or whatever, they go and burn cars and tip over lampposts and do crazy things. They would not otherwise do them. You get people into a crowd, and they can work themselves up. Now, the rationalist just says, well, that's because we're basically less hairy versions, more cerebrally advanced apes. You're basically being like a group of chimpanzees who have stumbled upon a huge pile of bananas, and then they go bananas. Well, maybe so, but that can cause other effects. We apply our intelligence to various things. Politicians use this facet all the time. What do you think happens at a Trump rally? I think some of these people that go to every Trump rally, they must be addicted to that energy at this point. It's like crack to them. They've gotten addicted to the weird feeling that they get. So, at some point, by the way, at some random point, that may wear off. And when it does, they're literally going to feel like down, like as though they're withdrawing from drugs or something, because it is injecting their mind with dopamine in the literal sense. I don't think that that's the only effect. I think that part of it is simply the fact that something has been witnessed makes it more real in the minds of others. And so it would be like the difference between a spell just written out on paper, like some hoodoo nonsense. It doesn't even have to be realistic or real occultism. Some spell there. And that same thing being performed, especially in an artistic manner with a lot of effects, like the lighting is proper, the background is proper, chanting chorus of robed figures, you can't see their faces, and ghouly things and stuff. That's going to cause an effect. When you go to a haunted house, think of which gives you more energy. Really good haunted house, really well made, realistic blood dripping and skeleton candles and weird shit. Or something that's like, it's basically for little kids. It's someone with a white sheet over them. Boo! It's not really going to scare you. It's not giving you that shot of dopamine that you really want either. And so it would be considered cringy or lame. By the way, that is definitely Beto's Halloween party. I hope that I wish this. One criteria on which we should vote for candidates, like for office, have them throw a Halloween party. And we'll judge them based on the liquor, how scary it is, how realistic the costumes are. And then in the next one, we'll have them eat weird shit like Fear Factor style. And then we'll have them do like weightlifting and an Olympian run and stuff. We'll just judge them based on that. It'd be more, it makes more sense than judging them based on how well they can lie, which is basically what we do now. By the way, in part, we judge them based on their ability to utilize the sinister current, basically hypnotizing their audiences. Oh, Scott Adams would have fun talking about maybe the spiritual connotations of that conversation. I hope he does sometime. That'd be pretty cool. That's about all. Peace out.